The Shadow That Hunts. The Galactic Coalition had ruled unchallenged for 8 centuries. Their sleek, crystalline ships patrolled the spiral arms with impunity, collecting tribute from over 300 species across 12,000 worlds. The Coalition's dominance wasn't just military. It was cultural, economic, and absolute. Their doctrine was simple. All emergent species would be guided into the galactic community. Those who accepted guidance prospered as second-class citizens. Those who refused faced extinction. Until they met humans. Commander Ilara Chen stood on the observation deck of Lunar Defense Station Epsilon, watching Earth rotate slowly beneath her. The blue marble seemed so peaceful from here, its oceans and clouds concealing the frantic military preparations underway on the surface. Humanity had ventured beyond their solar system just 30 years ago, establishing colonies on 17 worlds. They were infants in galactic terms, barely noticed until they refused the Coalition's terms of submission. "They've entered the system," reported Lieutenant Rivera, her voice tight with tension. "Coalition battle group, 8 capital ships, 24 escorts. They'll reach Luna in 3 hours." Ilara didn't turn from the viewport. "And the evacuation?" "Complete. All civilians from the outer colonies have been relocated to Earth or Mars. The Coalition doesn't know about the deep shelters. And Project Nemesis?" Rivera hesitated. "Ready, Commander. But the Joint Chiefs are still debating whether to deploy it." "Politics," Ilara muttered, finally turning away from Earth's serene blue sphere. "We've known this day was coming since first contact. The Coalition doesn't negotiate with lesser species. They never have." The memory of that first meeting still burned in Ilara's mind. The Coalition representatives, tall, elegant beings with iridescent skin and eyes that reflected the stars themselves, had approached with the benevolent condescension of adults addressing children. They had offered humanity protection, demanding only 90% of Earth's resources and human compliance with Coalition directives. When Earth's ambassadors refused, the Coalition delegates hadn't been angry. They'd been amused. "You'll reconsider," they'd said. They always do. The next day, Mars's smallest moon had been reduced to rubble, a demonstration of power disguised as a navigational error. Ilara strode through the station's corridors toward the command center, officers and technicians saluting as she passed. For 3 years, humanity had prepared for this moment, knowing the Coalition would eventually return to collect their tribute. Most of the Coalition's subject species had surrendered within weeks. Humanity would not. "Status report," she demanded, entering the bustling nerve center of Earth's defenses. "Coalition forces maintaining approach vector," reported the tactical officer. "Their transmission requests are surrender and immediate disarmament. They're broadcasting it on all frequencies, along with footage of what happened to the Arcturians when they resisted." Ilara had seen those recordings. The Arcturians had been a proud species with technology nearly equal to humanity's. Their resistance had lasted 6 days before their homeworld was blockaded and bombarded into submission. Now they served as laborers throughout Coalition space, their culture systematically erased. "Any response from the diplomatic channel?" Ilara asked, though she already knew the answer. "None, Commander. They're not interested in negotiation." Ilara nodded, then tapped her secure comm unit. "This is Commander Chen. Patch me through to the Joint Chiefs." The holographic display flickered, revealing 5 grim-faced military leaders representing Earth's unified defense forces. Admiral Hassan, the head of the Joint Chiefs, spoke first. "Commander Chen, the Coalition force. 3 hours from engagement range. Admiral, they've demanded our surrender." Hassan exchanged glances with his colleagues. "Then we're out of time. The UN Security Council has just voted. Project Nemesis is authorized for immediate deployment." A heavy silence fell over the command center. Project Nemesis represented humanity's greatest technological achievement and their most desperate gamble. "Understood, sir," Ilara replied, her voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "I'll coordinate with the Nemesis team immediately." "Commander," Admiral Hassan added, his voice softening slightly. The fate of our species may depend on what happens in the next few hours. Good luck. The transmission ended, leaving Ilara with the weight of humanity's future on her shoulders. She turned to her executive officer. Send the authorization code to Captain Reyes. Tell her to unleash hell. Deep within the asteroid belt, hidden in the gravitational shadow of Ceres, a ship unlike any other stirred to life. The UESS Nemesis had been built in absolute secrecy, its existence known only to a handful of Earth's highest military and political leaders. Unlike the utilitarian designs of standard human vessels, the Nemesis was a work of dark artistry, a sleek, obsidian shape that seemed to drink in the light around it. In the ship's command center, Captain Sophia Reyes read the incoming authorization with a mixture of dread and anticipation. For 2 years, she and her hand-picked crew had trained for this moment, mastering systems that defied conventional understanding of physics. It's time, she announced to her bridge crew. Coalition forces are 3 hours from Earth. We are authorized to engage. The crew exchanged glances. Determination mingled with fear. The Nemesis incorporated technology light years beyond anything humanity had publicly developed. Some of it they understood. Some of it they merely controlled. Initiating quantum drive, reported the navigation officer. Stealth systems at maximum. The Nemesis didn't travel through space like other ships. It disappeared from one point and materialized at another, bypassing the intervening distance entirely. The theorists called it probability manipulation. The ship didn't move so much as it altered reality, making it more probable that it existed at its destination than its origin. In the Coalition flagship Resplendent Truth, High Commander Xeril reviewed the human defenses with detached curiosity. Their technology was primitive by Coalition standards: chemical rockets, basic energy weapons, rudimentary shield systems. The humans had shown surprising ingenuity with what little they had, but the outcome was inevitable. Curious species, Xeril commented to his second-in-command. They've concentrated their defense platforms around their homeworld, but left their colonies virtually unprotected. Perhaps they recognize the futility of spreading their forces thin, replied Sub-Commander Naren. Intelligence suggests they value their homeworld above all else. A common trait among lesser species, Xeril nodded. They cling to their birthplaces. It makes them predictable. Sir, interrupted the sensor officer, her voice tinged with confusion. I'm detecting an energy signature, unlike anything in our database. Source, Xeril demanded. Unknown. It wasn't there a moment ago. On the tactical display, a new contact appeared, a vessel smaller than the Coalition's destroyers, but emanating energy readings that made no sense. Its hull was an impossible black, appearing to absorb rather than reflect the sun's light. Impossible, Xeril hissed. Our sensors would have detected any approach. We're being hailed, reported the communications officer, by the human vessel. Xeril straightened his ceremonial armor. Display. The view screen showed a human female in a black uniform without insignia or adornment. Her dark eyes were cold and unyielding. This is Captain Sophia Reyes of the United Earth ship Nemesis, she said without preamble. You have entered Earth-controlled space and threatened our sovereignty. Withdraw immediately. Xeril allowed himself a slight smile. Captain Reyes, your courage is commendable, but misplaced. One ship cannot challenge a Coalition battle group. Stand down, and your crew will be treated humanely. This is your only warning. Reyes replied, her expression unchanged. The Coalition is not welcome in human space. You misunderstand your situation, Xeril said. Resistance is. The transmission cut off abruptly, and at that moment, the Nemesis moved. Later, Coalition survivors would struggle to describe what they witnessed. The human ship didn't accelerate in any conventional sense. It simply arrived. One moment, the Nemesis hovered at the edge of the Coalition formation. The next, it materialized directly alongside Xeril's flagship, impossibly close. Evasive action, Kirill shouted, but before his crew could respond, the Nemesis vanished again, reappearing beside one of the escort vessels. A beam of coherent energy, not a laser or plasma weapon, but something far more fundamental, lanced out from the human ship. Where it touched the Coalition escort, matter simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris, just a perfect cylindrical hole punched through the vessel's hull, as if it were made of paper. The crippled escort tumbled away, life support failing, its crew evacuating to emergency pods. Before the Coalition vessels could coordinate their response, the Nemesis had disappeared again, materializing behind another escort. "Return fire," Cyril ordered. "All batteries." The Coalition fleet responded with a barrage that would have vaporized a small moon. Energy weapons, gravitational distorters, and exotic particle beams converged on the Nemesis's last position and struck nothing but empty space. "They're predicting our targeting solutions," whispered the tactical officer, horror in her voice. For 20 minutes, the one-sided engagement continued. The Nemesis appeared, struck with surgical precision, and vanished before the Coalition's weapons could lock on. It didn't target power cores or bridges, which would have destroyed the vessels entirely, but instead systematically disabled weapons, engines, and communication arrays. It wasn't just demonstrating superiority, it was showing mercy. That realization struck Cyril like a physical blow. This human vessel could have annihilated his entire battle group. Instead, it was sending a message. "Signal the retreat," he ordered quietly. "All functional vessels to cover the withdrawal of damaged ships." As the Coalition fleet limped away, the legend of the Nemesis was already taking shape. Within hours, reports would spread through subspace communications networks. The humans had a ship that could not be tracked. The humans had a ship that could not be hit. The humans had a ship called Nemesis, and this was just the beginning. In Lunar Defense Station Epsilon, Commander Ilara Chen watched the tactical display with a mixture of relief and disbelief. A single human vessel had repelled a Coalition battle group without suffering a scratch. "Nemesis is returning to base," reported Lieutenant Rivera, her voice betraying her awe. "Captain Rice requests permission to dock for debriefing." "Granted," Ilara said, her mind already racing ahead. The Coalition would be back, with more ships and new tactics. Today's victory had bought humanity time, but the war had only just begun. As if reading her thoughts, Admiral Hassan's voice came through her comm unit. "Commander Chen, the UN Security Council is convening an emergency session. The Coalition ambassadors are demanding explanations." He paused. "They're scared, Ilara. For the first time in their history, they're scared of us." Ilara looked at the retreating signatures of the Coalition fleet, then at the approaching Nemesis, humanity's dark guardian, its shadow of vengeance. "Good," she said softly. "It's about time." The legend and the truth. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, the name Nemesis had spread through the galaxy like a virus. In the slave markets of Rigel, captive species whispered it like a prayer. In the Coalition's administrative centers, tactical officers spoke it with dread. On 1,000 subjugated worlds, resistance movements adopted it as their symbol of hope. The Coalition had dominated galactic politics for 8 centuries through fear and overwhelming force. Now, for the first time, they were experiencing the other side of that equation. In a dingy spaceport bar on the fringe world Boros, a human merchant named Dario Ellis found himself the center of attention. Alien beings that would normally avoid human contact now approached with cautious respect. "Is true?" asked a 6-limbed Sovan in broken standard. "Human ship make Coalition retreat." Dario smiled, nursing his drink. He'd been spreading the story at every port he visited, embellishing as he went. "The Nemesis," he said, savoring the dramatic pause as his audience leaned closer, "can appear anywhere, anytime. One moment you're safe in your Coalition flagship, the next." He snapped his fingers. "The Nemesis is there, cutting through your hull like it's paper." "How many such ships do humans have?" inquired a reptilian Drast. Dario tapped his nose conspiratorially. That's classified. But I can tell you this. They're just the beginning. It was a bluff, of course. The Nemesis was unique, a technological marvel that humanity barely understood. But the story served its purpose. By morning, the tale had grown. The humans had a fleet of ghost ships. The humans could bend space itself. The humans were coming. The truth was both simpler and more complex. On Earth's moon, in the secured depths of Lunar Defense Station Epsilon, Commander Ilara Chen and Captain Sophia Rice reviewed the latest intelligence. The Coalition has placed a bounty on any information about the Nemesis, Ilara said, swiping through classified reports. They've hired mercenaries from a dozen species to hunt for it. Let them try, Sophia replied, the confidence in her voice born from 6 months of successful operations. The Nemesis had struck 17 times since the Battle of Earth, disrupting Coalition supply lines and liberating detention centers where humans from the outer colonies were being held. Each mission had enhanced the ship's legend. The Nemesis never appeared on sensors until it attacked. It could bypass any defense system, appearing inside planetary shields or directly alongside heavily guarded targets, and it always vanished before reinforcements could arrive, leaving only stunned survivors and spreading whispers. It's not just mercenaries we need to worry about, Ilara warned, pulling up a new file. Coalition scientists are studying debris from their damaged vessels, trying to understand how the Nemesis's weapons work. They're adapting. Sophia's expression hardened. Then we need to understand our own ship better. Dr. Takano believes he's found something in the artifact chambers. The two women made their way through the station's restricted sectors, passing through 7 security checkpoints before reaching the laboratory where humanity's greatest secret was kept. Dr. Haruki Takano looked up from a holographic display as they entered. The elderly physicist had been studying the artifacts since their discovery 15 years ago, objects that had changed humanity's understanding of physics and led directly to the Nemesis's creation. Commander, Captain, he greeted them, his excitement barely contained. I've made a breakthrough in translating the symbolic language. The artifacts, they're not just technology. They're a warning. The artifacts had been discovered deep beneath the Martian surface, in a chamber that had been sealed for over 50,000 years. 27 objects of unknown composition, emanating energy signatures that defied analysis. Humanity had reverse-engineered what little they understood, leading to the quantum drive and phase weapons that made the Nemesis so formidable. A warning about what? Ilara asked. Takano manipulated the holographic display, showing symbols that resembled flowing water or perhaps circuitry. The creators of these artifacts, I believe they were fleeing something. These symbols refer repeatedly to the hunger or perhaps the devourers. Whatever they were, they destroyed the artifact maker's civilization. What does this have to do with the Coalition? Sophia asked. Takano pointed to a particular sequence. The artifact makers seeded their technology on dozens of worlds, hoping that younger species would eventually find it and use it against their enemy. But they also warned that the devourers had servants, species they had corrupted or manipulated into serving their purposes. Ilara and Sophia exchanged glances, the implication clear. You think the Coalition. I think someone is using the Coalition, Takano corrected. The timing is too convenient. Humanity discovers the artifacts, begins to understand their potential, and suddenly the Coalition expands into our sector, demanding our submission. After ignoring us for decades. Before they could discuss further, alarms blared throughout the station. Ilara's comm unit activated automatically. Commander, reported a panicked voice. We're detecting multiple Coalition signatures entering the system. They've bypassed our early warning network. Impossible, Ilara muttered. Our sensor grid extends to the Kuiper Belt. If someone with the artifact maker's knowledge is helping them, Sophia suggested. Ilara's expression hardened. Captain, get back to the Nemesis. You're our best hope of repelling this attack. And Dr. Takano. Sophia asked. His research. I'll evacuate him and the artifacts to the backup facility on Mars. Now go. As Sophia raced toward the Nemesis docking bay, lunar defense batteries were already engaging the first wave of coalition vessels. Unlike the previous encounter, these ships moved with unexpected precision, employing tactics specifically designed to counter Earth's defenses. Aboard the Nemesis, Sophia found her crew at battle stations, faces grim with determination. "Status report," she demanded. 38 coalition vessels have breached the outer defense perimeter, reported Lieutenant Kwan, her tactical officer. They're ignoring military targets and heading directly for the research facilities. Sophia's blood ran cold. They're after the artifacts. As the Nemesis rose to meet the threat, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that they were pawns in a game that had begun millennia before humans existed. A conflict between ancient powers using newer species as proxies in their eternal war. The Nemesis engaged the coalition fleet with its usual devastating effectiveness, but something was different. The enemy ships exhibited predictive maneuvering, as if they had studied the Nemesis's capabilities. "They're adapting," Sophia murmured, then with sudden clarity. "They're not here to win. They're gathering data." She watched as the coalition ships deliberately tested different tactics against the Nemesis, sacrificing vessels to analyze its responses. This wasn't just a battle. It was reconnaissance. In the command ship at the rear of the coalition formation, High Commander Cyril stood before a hooded figure whose species was impossible to determine beneath voluminous robes. Unlike the coalition officers surrounding them, this being radiated ancient patience and otherworldly menace. "The human vessel approaches," Cyril reported, his usual confidence replaced by deferential fear. "As you predicted, Overseer." The figure's voice emerged like distant thunder, translated through coalition systems. "Your role is nearly complete, Cyril. The humans have developed the technology as expected. Now we must acquire it." "Many ships will be lost," Cyril warned. "Ships can be replaced," the Overseer replied dismissively. "Knowledge is eternal." On the Nemesis, Sophia made a crucial decision. "They're studying our attack patterns. Let's show them something new." She ordered a direct assault on the coalition flagship, a tactic the Nemesis had never employed before. The quantum drive engaged, and the human vessel materialized directly within the coalition formation, unleashing its full weapons array not at engines or weapons, but at the flagship's central section. The phase beams cut through the coalition vessel like a scalpel, exposing its command deck to space. In that moment, Sophia saw something that changed everything. The hooded figure standing alongside Cyril, unaffected by the sudden decompression, its robes billowing in the escaping atmosphere. The beam turned, fixing eyes that glowed with purple fire directly on Sophia through the view screen. Its voice somehow transmitted directly to the Nemesis's communications. "At last," it said, "the worthy inheritors reveal themselves." The coalition fleet suddenly broke formation, vessels scrambling to escape as the figure raised its arms. Energy cascaded from its fingertips, forming a barrier that even the Nemesis sensors couldn't penetrate. "Phase weapons," Sophia ordered. "Full power." The Nemesis beams struck the energy barrier and, for the first time, failed to penetrate. Instead, the energy was absorbed, strengthening the shield. "Fascinating," the beam's voice echoed through the Nemesis's systems. "You understand the tools, but not their purpose. We left them for you as a test, humans. A test you have now passed." "We?" Sophia demanded. "Who are you?" "The ones you call artifact makers. The ones who seeded your world with the knowledge you would need when the time came." Dr. Takano's theories crashed through Sophia's mind. "But the artifacts said you were destroyed. That you were running from the Devourers." The beam's laughter filled the bridge. "A necessary deception. We are the Devourers, Captain Reyes. We have watched your species develop, guiding the coalition to push you toward embracing our gifts. And now, at last, you are ready." Horror dawned on Sophia's face. "Ready for what?" "To join us. To become our new vessels in this realm." The being's form began to shift, its physical body dissolving into pure energy. Around the Nemesis, the Coalition fleet was in chaos, ships firing on each other as if their crews had gone mad. We feed on intelligence, on creativity, on the spark that makes sentient life unique, the entity continued. The Coalition served its purpose, shepherding developing species until they were ripe for harvest. But they lacked the innovative spirit we found in humanity. You created the Nemesis from fragments of our knowledge. Imagine what you could accomplish as our partners. Sophia exchanged glances with her crew, seeing the same determination mirrored in their eyes. We're not interested in partnerships with beings that consume other species. You misunderstand, the entity replied. We offer transcendence, evolution beyond your physical limitations. We've seen how you evolved species, Sophia countered, thinking of the Coalition's enslaved worlds. Humanity chooses its own path. The entity's form continued to expand, tendrils of energy reaching toward the Nemesis. You have no choice, Captain. The process has already begun. The Nemesis quantum drive doesn't just move through space. It thins the barriers between dimensions. Each time you use it, you open the way for us a little more. Sophia felt a chill run through her body. The Nemesis's mysterious technology, the artifact maker's gifts, they had been Trojan horses all along. Shut down the quantum drive, she ordered. Switch to conventional propulsion. Too late, the entity purred. The breach is wide enough now. My kind are already emerging across your worlds. Soon, humanity will be our new vessels, and the harvest will begin again. Sophia's mind raced, searching for a solution. The quantum drive had been their greatest advantage, but also, it seemed, their greatest vulnerability. Lieutenant Quan, she said quietly, remember the theoretical application Dr. Takano mentioned? The one we dismissed as too dangerous. Her tactical officer nodded, understanding dawning on his face. The quantum inversion. But Captain, we have no idea what that would do. We know what doing nothing will accomplish, Sophia replied, her decision made. Prepare the drive for quantum inversion. Target the entity directly. As her crew worked frantically, Sophia opened a channel to Earth. Commander Chen, evacuate all personnel from the lunar base immediately. We're about to attempt something unprecedented. The quantum drive had never been used as a weapon itself. It altered probability, making it more likely that the Nemesis existed at one point in space than another. A quantum inversion would do the opposite. It would make it vastly more probable that something did not exist at all. Quantum inversion ready, reported her chief engineer. But Captain, the calculations suggest this could affect the Nemesis as well. Sophia nodded grimly. I understand the risk. Target locked on the entity. Confirmed. Sophia took one last look at her crew, the finest officers humanity had produced, all volunteers who had understood they might not return from their missions. For Earth, she said simply, engage quantum inversion. The Nemesis drive hummed with power, building to a crescendo that made the ship's hull vibrate. The entity's energy form suddenly contracted, as if sensing the danger. What are you doing? It demanded, its confident tone replaced by uncertainty. Choosing our own path, Sophia replied. The quantum drive released its energy not as propulsion but as a weapon, a fundamental rewriting of probability that engulfed the entity. Where moments before there had been an expanding presence of purple energy, reality itself seemed to fold and compress. The entity screamed, not in pain, but in disbelief. Impossible. You cannot. We are eternal. We err. And then it was gone, along with the section of space it had occupied. Where the entity had been, now there was nothing. Not empty space, but a perfect absence, a spot where something simply could not exist. The Coalition vessels, suddenly freed from whatever influence had controlled them, began to retreat in disarray. On the Nemesis's bridge, systems flickered and failed as the quantum inversion's effects rippled outward. All power to shields. Sophia ordered. Brace for impact. The wave of altered probability washed over the Nemesis, systems failing in cascades as the ship began to phase in and out of normal space. For a moment, Sophia and her crew glimpsed elsewhere. Not another place, but another state of being, where thought and matter were interchangeable. And then they were back, the Nemesis tumbling through normal space, its hull intact, but its revolutionary drive destroyed. Sophia picked herself up from the deck, helping injured crew members to their feet. Status report. Quantum drive is completely burned out, her engineer reported. Conventional systems operating at 40%. But we're alive, Captain. Sophia looked at the view screen, where the Coalition fleet was scattering in panicked retreat. The entity was gone, and with it, whatever control it had exerted over the Coalition. Open a channel to Earth, she ordered. Commander Chen's face appeared, relief evident as she saw Sophia alive. Captain Reyes, what happened out there? Our sensors showed. I don't even know how to describe it. We found the true enemy, Sophia replied. And I think we've defeated it, at least temporarily. But we've lost the quantum drive. The Nemesis is just an ordinary ship now. Chen smiled. There's nothing ordinary about the Nemesis or her crew, Captain. Come home. We have much to discuss. As the damaged but undefeated Nemesis limped back to Earth, Sophia knew that humanity's greatest challenges lay ahead. The entity had spoken of others of its kind. The Coalition, without its hidden masters, would be in chaos. But humanity had faced the darkness and survived. They had seen through the deception and rejected false transcendence. They had chosen their own path. In the weeks that followed, as Earth scientists studied the aftermath of the quantum inversion, they discovered something unexpected. The event had created a permanent barrier in that region of space, a zone where interdimensional transit was impossible. The entities could not return, at least not there. Humanity began to adapt the technology, creating quantum barriers around their worlds. The Nemesis, its legendary drive destroyed, would never again vanish and reappear at will. But it didn't need to. Its name alone had become a symbol, inspiring both fear and hope throughout the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, species that had lived under Coalition rule for centuries began to question their masters. Resistance movements, emboldened by humanity's example, rose up against their oppressors. The Coalition, without its hidden guidance, could not maintain control over its vast territories. A new galactic order was emerging, one where humanity, despite its youth, would play a crucial role. Not as conquerors, not as servants, but as guardians against threats that existed beyond the boundaries of normal space. And at the vanguard of this new era, its hull scared but proudly bearing its name, the Nemesis remained, no longer a ghost ship that could not be caught, but a very real reminder that even gods could be defied. The most dreaded warship in the galaxy had become something more important, a beacon of hope.